All right then, hello everybody. Welcome to Tom's Guitar Show. I'm Tom. They call me Guitar Tom because I'm often seen with the guitar, and they call me on the phone. They say, "Hey man, what's your show about anyway?" I say it's about an hour. It's about guitars, guitar players, and all things guitaristic. So here's the deal: if you want to, call the show and ask a question about the care and feeding of your guitar, what kind of guitar is right for you, how to play the guitar. If you want to talk about a related topic like the guitarrón, the sitar, the guitarra. Chitolas, banjos, balalaikas, bazookas, mandolins, mandoras, mandolas, mandocellos. We want to talk about bajos, sextos, and banjos, and balalaikas, and bazookas, and, I don't know, let's say cavaquinhos yet, and ukuleles, banjo-leles, guitar-leles. You want to talk about, let's say lutes vihuelas yet? I don't know. I'm out of sequence. I've said this so many times, Basically anything you can pluck on, dulcimers, doumbeks, I guess what's a drum? Anyway, never mind. Timpanis, timbales, those are drums. Tubas, there we go. Low brass, there we go. Let's talk about low brass. I don't know anything about low brass, but sack butts, saxophones, drum horns, quartholts, cornetos, rackets, bassoons, clarinets, and clavinets, clavichords, piccolos and pipe organs and harmonicas and harmoniums, auto harps, pixie harps, glass harmonicas, humanitone. You know what the humanitone is? It's a.
No, I don't.
It's a snoot flute. You put it up to your nose. They used to make it out of metal, but they made it out of plastic. And you exhale through your nose, and there's a fipple. Like the thing that the active ingredient in a penny whistle or any kind of whistle, and it makes a whistle, and so you make by increasing the size of the volume of air in your mouth, you change the tone of it, so it sounds like a whistling sound. But I knew a guy who was a virtuoso.
Maybe we should talk about kazoos this week.
Yeah, kazoos, kazoos, and calliopes, and anyway,
Jews harps.
What?
Jews harps.
Yeah, Jews harps. Yeah. The
Boing, boing.
Yeah, boing, doing, doing. The Jew part of it has nothing to do with Hebrews.
Okay.
That's from what I've been told. It's another word altogether. We've determined this, like when we say cat gut. It has nothing to do with cats. It's another word for some other. It's another word in their language for something else.
We just say that so people won't know why we keep all these cats out here.
That's right. That's why in case we run out of a string. No, but the cats aren't. Their intestines are not well suited for strings. They're carnivores. What you want is an herbivore and something that eats twigs. So apparently high altitude.
Like
sheep.
a panda.
Yeah. Like who?
Like a panda.
Oh, a panda. Yeah. Eats shoots and leaves. No. See, but and I'm getting off my prologue here. But no. You see, what you want though is you want like sheep, and preferably a high altitude sheep, because they have the strong stomachs and they make excellent strings. Me, I use a nylon strings on those.
Or a virgin nylon.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so anything to do with music, you can talk about politics, world events, or your own personality problems, and that's fine. We're here for you, but keep it clean. This is a family program. All right. So I brought the SG this week. I've been thinking about this guitar.
That's a Gibson?
It's a Gibson. It's a real Gibson. It's an older one. I got it used, and I don't want to bore people too much with my story, but,
it's a guitar show. Tell us about your guitar.
Well, okay, so a long time ago, I think in the 1980s maybe, I'm trying to think of when that would have been, probably the 1980s, I was teaching guitar lessons at West Music, and one summer, a young fellow came with his dad, and he had been playing the Suzuki violin since he was 3, and he didn't want to do it anymore. And he was going to go into 7th grade. It was a summer between 6th and 7th grade for him, a boy named Matt. So his father bought him a guitar, a black shiny Gibson SG, brand new. Most kids get something made in Indonesia or Korea or someplace, in a factory by people who were peasants just a generation earlier, thrown into some industrial type of lifestyle. But got him a Gibson, made in USA, real guitar, and said if he worked hard this summer, he could qualify. He could be in the jazz band because he had to keep playing music. So I think we played guitar in the jazz band in 7th grade. Yeah. So So the kid who, had been playing on strings since he was 3, and now he's 12, he got the guitar, and he did everything I said, and he practiced hard, and he took 1 summer's worth of lessons. And he learned movable chord formations, basic chord theory, how to read music on the guitar, how to use a pick and strum and play individual notes, the downstroke, upstroke ratios you do for rhythms. I have a pick in my pocket somewhere, but who cares? Anyway, learned all that stuff, and then he quit at the end of the summer. And then I heard he joined the jazz band, and he was like, did all these blazing leads, because there's these solos. I mean, if you know the scale, you can play solos, really easily. So, hang on, I got a phone in my pocket. So he did well, 7th, 8th, 9th grade, all through high school. And then to high school, I lost touch with him. I'd see him every now and then, watch him kind of grow up now and then, but I'd see him every now and then, and I'd hear about him doing all this stuff, being the jazz band. He had his own band, stuff like that through high school, but he put the guitar away when he went off to college and forgot about it, I guess, when he moved on with his life. So like 20 years after that, when he's like 38 or something like that, I guess his father was going through the closets and stuff in the house and getting rid of stuff, and so he had this guitar. So he took it down to the guitar shop that I frequent, where they let me pay stuff off slow. They got this sort of rent-to-own policy, basically me paying stuff off slow. So I had just bought my first Gibson, my Les Paul, the day before, and I went in for some reason. Maybe it was because I took it home and I was going to decide whether I was going to pay for it or not, so I put the down payment on it. But then when I went in there to pay for the Les Paul, also a Gibson, this thing was up on the counter there, being restrung. Yeah. So I said, SG, wow. And then I thought, I have to have that too. So I got this one also that summer. I took me all summer to pay them both off, but I fulfilled my obligations. That was some years ago. Yeah. So anyway, so then I started comparing notes with the guy, because this guitar looked really familiar to me for some reason. Like I'd known it before, because I know a guitar well. You might remember your old girlfriends and stuff. I don't know who they were really. I don't care. But I don't reminisce very often. My wife probably wouldn't like it anyway. But I remember guitars. So I started comparing notes, and I couldn't remember the kid's name. But then I found out what the dad's name was, which was the same name as the last name as the kid. And so it was the same guitar, and the story with the dad and everything, that was the guy. So this was his guitar. So that was like a couple of years ago. I guess he'd be pushing 40 by now or whatever. So this was his boyhood adolescent guitar. And but that's a testament. If you get a decent guitar, they last longer than you do. Not you, but one in general. People do. So this is a genuine Gibson SG made in the USA. And come to think of it, I was thinking about this amp I'm playing through is PV Bandit 112. That's made in the USA. And the microphone that I put in front of it is a Shure SM57, which is also made in the USA. So this is kind of an American-made show. Oh. I was planning to do an everything made in the USA show, in which case I would have had to get an old boomerang looper and some cables that I have. I don't know if I can get an American-made extension cord. I can look around and try. But I could,
It would probably have to be an old one these days.
Yeah, but I do have a couple American-made amps and American-made looper and American-made microphones. I think this mic stand's probably made in the USA. It's old enough, so. Back when this was made, we're still talking about red china. So, anyway, I better play something. Pretty good guitar. Looks kind of sinister, though. I would. I try to come off as a nice guy. I was thinking about this just while I was playing, looking at myself in the monitor. You're not supposed to look at the monitor, but so how would I look like? See, you're not supposed to do that. I do all kinds of things I'm not supposed to do because I'm a rebel. But
You're the producer. Do what you want.
that's right. Well,
Who's going to fire you?
that's right. I might get banned. I don't know. But I've so my new thing is I have this new project I'm really planning to do. I'm going to try to change my lifestyle a little bit. And I play like three or more gigs a week, but I basically my range is basically from Cedar Rapids, Iowa to Kelowna, Iowa. And occasionally I'll divert myself slightly, go to Coralville, but that's basically on the way. And I play in Iowa City occasionally. I do various functions and so forth. But so I've been looking at gigage all around the area, like Galena, Illinois, for instance. There's a tourist area there, and there are other places too. Dubuque has sort of a riverboat type of theme. The Mississippi River is interesting to me. Then go up into Wisconsin. You got Winona, which is that Wisconsin or Minnesota? I forget. But anyway, it's up there somewhere.
There's one in Arizona.
Yeah, well, there's one up there on the Mississippi, but because they have a houseboat culture up there, you see. Yeah. So there are all these little gigs. And of course, there's Twin Cities or St. Louis and stuff. I want to get do some regional stuff, yeah. But some of these gigs probably wouldn't pay very well. And
hey, you do like John Hartford, not just play on the riverboat, get yourself a pilot's license.
I think it would take a while. Besides, he's dead, but poor fellow. But anyway, I do play banjo. But but I was thinking, okay, so some of this wouldn't really pay that well. Wouldn't really be economically feasible. I'd probably pay my gas and everything. But what I want to do is I want to have a blog and have a narrative and make videos along the way and do all these things, to make it make sense. But where am I heading with this? I was going to make a very pertinent point. Oh, that's a bad sign. Something about me wanting to travel. Oh, yeah. But see, the people, they never heard of me before. So like the woman from the place in Galena wanted to know if I had a YouTube channel. I said, well, yes, I do.
Do I have a YouTube channel?
I do have a YouTube channel, but it's, I've had a YouTube channel for years. I've had... but it's like all Tom's Guitar Show stuff, And in the old days, we used to take clips of me playing something. But what they're looking for is covers, which I can do. I can sit there and sing rather badly, for hours on end. Holding in Nazareth, was feeling about dead. Just looking to find some place where I could lay my head. Hey, mister, can you tell me where a man might find a bed? He just grinned and shook my hand, and no was all he said. Take a load off, Annie. Take a load for free. Take a load off, Annie. And he put the load right on me. I could do that stuff for hours, because I know a lot of songs, but...
You look at the ads for casinos, everybody you've never heard of is a tribute to somebody you have heard of.
Right. Well, that's basically, I'm not going to do a tribute to anybody. I'm not going to sound like anybody. I'm going to sound like me. It's one thing, I'm bass. I can't sing high like everybody else, And the other thing is, I never do covers on this show. I don't. It's like there's the copyright fears, of course, and there's also, it's just, me making stuff up and talking to you.
Yeah.
Talking to Bob and wasting time and talking about how I'm going to be in Kelowna on
Friday and Saturday night?
That's right. And it's starting about 6:30.
At the Tuscan Moon?
Tuscan Moon. We were outdoors on Saturday. It was packed. It was great because it's been kind of slow lately. So this summer thing happened. But I noticed there's one woman, and they had to wait a long time for their dinner because of the way that everybody was there at once, and the kitchen can only go so fast, And then she was just swarmed with flies, and they left a very small tip apparently. And I looked around, she had just flies all around her. And then I looked at there are people there were bothered somewhat with flies at their table, but there's a big table, so the farther away they got, people at the other end of the table, they didn't have flies at all. And I looked around other people, occasionally a fly would go by and brush it out of the way, but she was just like swarming. And I was thinking about, making a joke about she must be really sweet to draw all those flies, but I decided not to, and I think she's probably pretty angry. But it really was... I mean, it was amazing because she was just like all around her, and nobody else really was troubled by them. I mean,
Must have had some perfume on or something that the flies liked.
something. They liked her. I should have just hung flypaper all around her.
Yeah.
Watch them get stuck. Even more entertaining than me, I suppose. Well, anyway, all I'm saying is like this is not a fair representation of what I would do in a tourist bar, in Galena. This
Right.
show is not. This is Tom's Guitar Show. After 20 years or so, I used to, prepare something different every week.
Yeah.
I used to bring a different guitar every week, but
Well, you still bring a lot of guitars in.
no, I didn't yawn. I used to use to yawn either, but well, I can't sustain that though. I mean, I only, I probably only have like 50 guitars or 52 or something. That's only like a year's worth, and after a while I have to repeat them. And I don't usually bring the same guitar 2 weeks in a row,
Yeah.
but this guitar has been in the show maybe a few times before. But so I don't know. Anyway, I thought I would. There's people who are always like getting Kickstarter and FundMe and all those things. I'd like to start this project because people want to know what's going on inside of the twisted mind of a musician. I've had people tell me this,
Yeah.
So I said, well, what if I sort of document my gig, a little video of me going there, maybe a little something of me playing there, something that I played, a narrative, me driving home, keep the blog going, just pick up all these gigs, these sometimes knock out down, drag out bars, the coffee houses, see if I can get me a gig. I really want to get a gig like on a cruise boat on the Mississippi. We went on a paddle wheeler once a few years ago in Dubuque, from Dubuque, up and down the river, and there was a guy. And you have dinner, and you look out the window and go up on deck and go up and talk to the skipper with his hat on, and I like to get one of those hats. But anyway, but then but there was a guy playing guitar in the play where we were eating, and then when the skipper would come on the PA system and announce what we were about to pass, or that there was a great big barge we had to wait for and stuff like that. He would, the guy would stop playing.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, and he was doing like, Gordon Lightfoot songs, and we were relatively young. They put us with another couple who was even younger, but most everybody else was older. So I thought that'd be kind of fun to get a gig, working on a cruise boat, a paddle wheeler on the Mississippi.
I wonder how much they cruise anymore.
I don't know.
Well, that's where I heard the name of John Hartford. He used to come over to Peoria and play the Julie Bell in the summertime, which was a cruise boat. But then it got replaced by a gambling boat, which at the time was required to cruise. But then they changed the laws, and now it just sits parked all the time, and I don't know that anybody's cruising anymore.
Well, this one was not a gambling boat, so
Yeah.
it was like a cruiser. I don't know. I think now you don't even have to be on real like water. You can have like they have like the one in like water balloons.
River sign, yeah. You got a basement full of water balloons,
Yeah.
which always seems passing strange to me.
Yeah, I went out there one time looking.
What purpose does that serve?
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, before it was supposed to be a cultural thing, so you cruise on the Mississippi, and you
Or
can be
we'll-
like Brett Maverick. Maverick is his name. Yeah.
Yeah, we went over to St. Joe, Missouri, and they have a moat boat over there. It's a gambling boat, and it just sits in a moat.
Yeah, I guess you just have to have a pond or something.
Yeah.
Does it have to actually float, or can it be on pillars with water around it?
I couldn't tell that it was floating. I thought it was sitting on the ground with water around it, but if it was floating, I couldn't tell it.
Couldn't they just flood the basement and call it
Well,
even?
like Riverside.
Yeah, well, I think they had like water balloons. They
Yeah,
just,
yeah. There was an article about that in the paper one time. The basement full of water balloons.
Yeah. Well, couldn't it just be damp or something? I mean, I don't know. I mean, really,
Ask your state legislator.
there is water under the ground.
Yeah,
There's groundwater down there somewhere. So,
yeah. That's why wells work.
yeah, some places.
The artesians are down there.
Yeah. Sounds like they're having trouble somewhere, technically. We having trouble?
Oh,
The recording's okay. I think the port out to the channels become frayed beyond repair. I think that finally went.
Oh,
So there's no sound on our live show, I'm afraid.
Oh.
But the playback will have
So,
sound.
so they see us, but they can't hear us.
Yeah. I wouldn't want that.
We can say all those things you tell us not to say now.
yeah, yeah. But it'll be in the rerun. Well, maybe we need closed captioning.
Yeah.
But we're getting a good recording, so
Okay.
sorry about that.
Yeah.
Get it fixed tomorrow.
Oh, well. That's part of what my show's about, huh?
So for those of you watching us Friday night, you're getting what the Tuesday night people missed.
Yeah, yeah. For those of you watching now, if you can read my lips, no new taxes. No, I mean, if you can read my lips, tune in on Friday at 11 o'clock. So. Maybe we can have some pretty visuals or something.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm all that photogenic. I can look at you. You're on the screen too.
Ah, yeah. Whoops. Leaned the wrong way. Leaned out of frame instead of into it.
Yeah.
while the internet held out,
Yeah.
I looked up Jew's harp, and that term comes from England, and there's considerable disagreement on why it's called that.
Oh.
But the instrument itself, they say, was known in China and India at least 2,500 years ago.
Yeah. I saw a thing about the history of that type of instrument. There was an instrument that was like a predecessor of the guitar, basically.
Yeah.
Right? Which is you just take a bow, put the bow up to your jaw,
Yeah.
and you do that with it.
Yeah.
And this is way early. I mean,
Yeah.
like Stone Age type instrument. So, but what do they? The internet's not working anymore.
Well, I'll look and see again. The internet down here, and I don't know if it's my computer or what, but it's kind of in and out on me sometimes. I'll see if it's back.
We're having quite a show here. People can't even hear it at home, so anybody with any sense would switch to something else. I mean, you could watch that rerun of Seinfeld again. I mean, just because you saw it 40 times, you might have missed a joke. But very good. Starting to yawn on the show. I think that's the thing about this program is that I've been doing it for about 20 years. And I've been doing about 50 shows a year. Now, I don't know if it's quite 20 years. It's definitely a little less than 20 years because I couldn't have possibly started before, like somewhere in the late summer of 1994. So we're not quite there yet. And I don't think I've done quite 50 shows a year because we take more than 2 weeks off. I mean, the place is closed more than 2 Tuesdays out of the year, maybe like 3 or maybe 4. So maybe I'm only doing 48 or 49 shows a year, and maybe it's been less than. But if I had done 50 shows a year for 20 years, that'd be 1,000 Tom's Guitar shows. So.
No, it's still telling me limited access, and you are not connected to a network.
Oh, that's too bad. Well, do you know what the etymology of it is?
There were a couple explanations for that, but there's no universal agreement on any of them.
But was it saying that was something that Jewish people would play, or was it saying it was something that...
Well, one theory was that the Jewish merchants were importing them into England, but
I see.
that's just a theory, and I think maybe it was the Oxford Dictionary says there's no validity to that. So
Okay. So nobody has any other theories about what it's for? Your internet went out on you before you could find out.
Yeah.
Well, give us something else to figure out, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, like I say, if there's no general agreement on it,
Yeah.
we can make up our own theory.
Well, we could. I'm sorry, I'm yawning. We could just,
We could go ahead and talk about the kazoo.
yeah, we could teach the controversy. I don't know the kazoo. I don't know where that comes from, but I guess we can't look that up either. But
No.
well, when I was a boy, my grandfather taught me the trick of taking a piece of tissue paper and using it on your comb.
Yep.
So, I mean, if you can afford a comb and tissue paper, you can often get for free. being a
Well,
surplus material.
like a slick magazine cover, but
Wax paper.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. But yeah, well, in the olden days, I used to have I still have this harmonica stand,
yeah.
and I put a harmonica here and a kazoo over here.
Huh.
And I do that like. I remember this thing because I used to play a steel string guitar with medium gauge strings. This is a electric guitar with much lighter strings. Well, ain't no use to sit and wonder why, babe. If you don't know by now, ain't no use to sit and wonder why. You could go back and forth between the two and do a sort of blues thing. I find myself, I go into some sort of place where I was going to play fancy music and I take a look around and realize it ain't going to fly. Because some people are really anti-intellectual, and I'm not really an intellectual or anything like that, but if you don't know any better, like if you're, I can't say white trash on TV, right?
You just did.
Oh, yeah, too late now, okay. But if you're a certain kind of person, you might
And
be...
they never bleep us here.
Yeah, that's right. Well, not yet. But if you're a certain person, the kind of person, who's anti-intellectual and resents them college fellers, then you don't want to come off like one of the college fellers.
Ah.
And I ain't got no education, so you try to do some highfalutin stuff, you might get beat up or something.
Ah.
It certainly won't get asked back, so you try to get more rustic. I was thinking about Jim Croce. You know, he went to college. You know, you know, and it was like in the '60s. You know,
Yeah.
and he was in the Army. He was in college, and he was actually a pretty educated, worldly sort of fellow. But you know, he was doing work at the Car Wash Blues, and you know, Bad Leroy Brown, and you know, some. I fell in love with a roller derby queen. You know, stuff like that. Because he actually had a gig, like steady gigs in these bars.
Christofferson's a Rhodes Scholar singing "Drop Kick Me Jesus Through the Goalpost of Life."
Yeah, yeah. But in his defense, he had a serious drinking problem. I think maybe drugs. It helps, you know. But yeah, but I mean, there's a lot of that going around. But see, with Croce, you know, he would do all this stuff, you know, and he actually, I heard he wanted to give up in the music business and become a writer and write screenplays and things like that. Because he could write and everything, and he was doing all that stuff because he had these gigs in these bars when he was starting out, very, you know, blue collar bars in Pennsylvania. And, I was reading some news story from Pennsylvania, by the way, and then I came up the internet and it was in a paper, so I started to read some more of the paper, and I came upon a phrase, German-Irish white trash, which I thought was interesting. The kind of people who live in this area, you know, in the hills in Pennsylvania. I thought, German-Irish white trash. I'm German-Irish. Of course, most people are around here, but there's a lot of that going around.
Yeah.
But the two largest immigrant populations. I think the Germans are the biggest, and the Irish.
Well, in the Cedar Valley, there's a lot of Bohemians. But
Yeah, but that's a regional thing here.
Yeah.
I mean, by and large,
yeah,
a lot of people are German-Irish in
yeah.
this country. So, but so there was this.
Well, the Amanas are Germans,
Yeah. Well, these are
and
enclaves.
the Amish.
Yeah, well, yeah. There are, but there are these enclaves, especially here in Iowa. They have
Yeah.
these like places where like you know, some settlers come from a country and then they
Right.
write home, and then a whole bunch of more come, and then they settle that area. They, you know, turn it into their own little community. They have you know, Dutch people and Pella doing the tulips, and then they have the.
Well,
Orange
my
City.
hometown, Peoria, has a big Lebanese colony.
How long have they been there?
As long as before me,
Well, a lot of people left Lebanon for
anyway.
good reason.
Yeah, the I2 Society is their big association over there, the Cultural Association, which is the name of a town that a lot of them came from.
Yeah. Well, my understanding about the Lebanese migration was that there was a, you know, in certain parts of the 20th century, there was a huge,
Yeah, there have been several big wars over there
several big wars and
and religious conflicts.
religious conflicts. And
That's most of the Lebanese around Peoria are Catholics.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the thing. And so a lot of the Christians left.
Yeah.
You know, because it was just not, you know,
Pushed the
safe for them
Christians
there.
out. Yeah,
I knew somebody. Actually, she was an intern here. She's kind of a friend. Used to work on my show, but her father was actually was from Colombia, but her her aunt or great aunt, somebody was shot in the head by Muslims, and so they decided it was a good time to get out of Lebanon. So they moved to Colombia, and married a Colombian or whatever, and whatever mixture that might be of people, and then the kidnappings and crime started to really jump in Colombia. So her father moved to Iowa and married a local Swede in the Swedish enclave, you know, and she was a product of that, you know, Colombian, Lebanese, Swedish background, and good-looking woman too, and remember her sister too, but but there was a lot of people. You know, the thing is, I've found this an interesting subject. I've thought about this when I found out about some things that happened to the Irish, the slave thing, which I natter on about on this show occasionally, because I've been reading up on that, and actually my interest started. My recent interest started a year or two ago when we were doing a show, and we did some Scottish music about the Highlands and the Highlands of Scotland being cleared to make way for more sheep, ethnically cleansed, because there were too many people up there, and they wanted the land that were grazing these sheep. They had bred a new sheep that was good and really good in the Highlands of Scotland and produced really great wool. And since England was a really big textile, country and exporter, they wanted there's all this room for sheep and got to get rid of people. So they sent the people down to the ocean there to pick kelp, because the other thing they had was a shortage of potash, which you can get by cutting down the forest and burning the woods and taking the ash.
Yeah.
But they were running out of woods. And then they were importing it from other places, but because of wars and trade embargoes, they were no longer able to import potash. But what they discovered was they could pull up all the kelp that was growing, big long kelp plants in the shallow waters when the tide went out, and pull that up the shore, dry it out, and burn that, get potash. And so they had all these Scots, out there waiting in the very cold water, up there, off the coast of Scotland, pulling up this kelp and drying it out. They're living in these little leaky little huts, never quite getting dry. It's cold there all the time, and a lot of them dying, And then when they found new sources of potash, which is a big industrial thing, they use it for all kinds of things. When they found new, because like in the Americas, they clear the land, the forests to make farmland, and then they take all those trees and burn them up and export the potash. So anyway, so then when they'd have these things where they basically like ship people over to Ireland and to the Americas. A lot of them went to Canada. A lot of these people went to, and then of course the Scots-Irish, who.
Well, Nova Scotia's New Scotland.
Yeah. So then I discovered that was really bad.
Yeah.
But then I discovered what they did to the Irish.
Yeah.
They would actually sell Irish men who had participated in the uprising, trying to get off of the yoke of the English conquered them, with Oliver Cromwell being sent out by Queen Elizabeth I, who it was said that if she lived in the 20th century, she would have been up there with Pol Pot and Adolf Hitler and Stalin for, because of her ethnic cleansing. People think of this as such a genteel time, but she was pretty nasty to the. Well, she didn't ever do anything herself, of course. She sent Oliver Cromwell to get things started. But anyway, so those people who were cleared and sent to the West Indies to to work in sugar plantations, and also to mix, and they were crossbreeding them with Africans who were much more highly valued. So if the Irish were, Irish were worth 5 pounds, and the Africans were 50 pounds. So you give the African a better hut and feed him better and stuff like that, because if and if you work an Irishman to death, then it's not that big a loss. An African would be worth something. So that's the thing. So and then of course a lot of people who live down there now are a combination of the Irish and the Africans who were imported there to work with the sugar. But so yeah, why did I get on ethnic cleansing? I don't remember, man. Something about something. I think
about the ethnic groups here.
Oh yeah.
That were driven out somewhere else.
Yeah, they were usually thrown out of someplace else. Yeah. And then I was reading a thread or a conversation on YouTube about something, and there was a Native American guy who was being pretty angry and racist toward white people. Said the very scum of Europe ended up in the New World. He was angry with it, and some other guy was arguing with him about how much more technologically advanced the Europeans were, than the natives here, and bringing to their attention that the one big thing is that the natives here, the original people here, were at war with each other for centuries and centuries, and the Europeans supplied them with weapons so they could kill each other and stuff like that. And there's all this other sort of stuff, So history is,
when the Spanish invaded Mexico, the Mayans had been enslaving and sacrificing the surrounding tribes for generations. And when the Spanish showed up, they thought they were gods that were going to free them from the Mayans. So they joined in and helped them clear out the Mayans.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the way it happened all over the place.
Yeah.
I mean, it happened in North America. I mean, farther North America, should we say? The French and Indian Wars. I mean, the people were, the French and the English, would work with the other tribes. Who had been under the thumb of some more dominant tribe for many years. So they come in there with advanced technology and soldiers from Europe. And they had a lot of Indians working with them. And there are other things too. I mean, like the other thing I noticed, I've discovered, is like the red bones, the red bone people in Louisiana. And so the story I was told was that the slaves would escape and they go to live with the Indians, and that was why they had these mixed race people who were, Indian and African.
Yeah.
But the reality was more likely that the Choctaw Indians went into business with the French to grow cotton, and they imported slaves.
Yeah.
So the French were, in business because the Choctaw were perfectly happy to go into business with the French, back in the old days, and then but they didn't want to do the hard labor and stuff like that. So the French got them slaves to do the work, and so Indians owned slaves, and also there were black people in the South who owned black slaves, and there were also captains of the ships.
And the rich Cherokees
Yeah.
owned black slaves, and when Andrew Jackson drove them all west, he made their slaves Cherokees.
I see. Huh. Yeah. And then and a lot of the Cherokees stayed behind
Yeah.
and mixed with the Scots-Irish, who were, ethnically cleansed from
Yeah.
Scotland, and they were all one big happy family.
Yeah.
Of,
There's a 18th century Cherokee village out there that we went through, and the guide, she's dressed up like an Indian, looks like an Indian, and talks just like Dolly Parton.
I see. Yeah.
You expect her to talk like Tonto, but she's got an East Tennessee accent.
Right. Well, why wouldn't she? I mean,
Yeah, because she's in Carolina, but
Yeah. Well, the
5 miles up the road's East Tennessee.
yeah. Well, if you talk to the Dakota Sioux people or people from the Dakotas,
Yeah.
Montana, they sound like Sarah Palin. So,
Yeah.
I mean, what can you say?
Yeah.
But I mean,
Yeah, I've always wondered, why does an Alaskan sound like she's from Minnesota? But
she's not really from Alaska.
no.
She's not who she purports to be,
Ah,
and she's there's a lot of that going on.
yeah.
So, a lot of people think that they present themselves a certain way are actually fake. That's
Do you mean Roy Rogers was from Ohio?
was he really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't doubt it.
I used to think he was from Battle Creek, Michigan,
Actually,
because they used to have Roy Rogers stuff that you could send off for on Kellogg's cereal boxes
Yeah.
to Battle Creek, Michigan. So I figured that must be where Roy Rogers Ranch is.
yeah, that's where he sends it from.
Yeah.
Your toys from his ranch. Yeah. Well, a lot of things are fake. I mean, this show is actually real. It's just not much though. It's just me with my guitar on TV every week. So I don't know. It's but a lot of things we think we know are wrong and are fake, and a lot of the and Roy Rogers wasn't his real name anyway.
Leonard Sly.
The guy was a blues singer, blues guitar player. I met him at a festival I was at, and guitar festival. And he said during his concert that night that Roy Rogers was actually his real name, unlike the other Roy Rogers, because his name is Roy Rogers, and he's not related. But Roy Rogers wasn't Roy Rogers, and this guy's name really is. It's on his birth certificate.
Well, those of us who follow country music think Clint Black and Kenny Rogers must have been switched at birth, because Kenny doesn't look a bit like Roy, but Clint does.
Actually, yeah. Huh. Yeah. Yeah. You suspect something?
Yeah.
Right.
Like I say, switched at birth.
Yeah. Well, Kenny Rogers doesn't look like Kenny Rogers anymore anyway. So
No.
he had himself upgraded.
We went and saw his show a couple of years ago. Fortunately, we were far enough back. We
see him?
didn't get a real good look at him. Oh, wait, we could see him, but, it's not close up.
Yeah.
And they had pictures of him up on screens, but they were still pictures from back when he used to look like Kenny Rogers.
Yeah. I know people who hated him because he was one of the people who ruined country music.
Oh, yeah. Well, they're in the 70s, yeah, when he was going through his 101 strings phase.
Yeah.
And Olivia Newton-John was selling a lot of records at that time. And the country stations were playing her, and a lot of people were all worked up about that, too.
Yeah.
They were my favorite trio.
Oh.
Olivia Newton-John.
Yeah. I love you. I honestly love you. Every time it's a song about you, make it about stew. I love stew. I honestly love stew. Comfort food.
Yeah.
It makes so much better. I hate that mushy stuff.
Well, let's get physical.
Yeah.
Of course, the country stations didn't play that one.
No. We're greatest hits from Greece. I don't know. about it, I guess. Be back next week. I'm here every week.